The investor's worst enemy is not the stock market, but the emotions. And that's what happened with me, in fact, because I choose to put all my investment in one basket, but copying only one short-term trader. I'm not mentioning any about him or anything, but what happened is it was skyrocketing. Every week is few hundreds of increment. So we start copying, many of us, so same goes for me, and eventually I invest my all investment. And one night when I wake up early morning, it's gone.
Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risks, but to win big, you've got to reduce it. My name is Andrew Stotts from A Stotts Investment Research, and I'm here with featured guest Zia Islam. Zia, are you ready to rock?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. Let me introduce you to the audience. Mr. Zia Islam is the Coordinator, External Relations, School of Management, Asian Institute of Technology Thailand. AIT, as it's called, School of Management, is ranked among the top 250 B schools in the world under the QS World Rankings by Subject 2018 under Business and Management. And for those people who know about this organization, AIT, they have a downtown office that's right outside my window here in Bangkok, Thailand. So Zia holds a Bachelor of Science in Computing and Information Systems from London Metropolitan University. And in his free time, he enjoys books like me, and he enjoys reading those books with a cup of hot latte in his hands like me. Zia, take a minute and fill in any further tidbits about your life.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Right now, I live in Bangkok with my wife. It's been 8 years living in Bangkok. It's a nice place to live and work. It's really cool. But from these days, a bit busy with photography, trying to do some photo shootings. That's it. That's it for now.
That's cool. Well, I agree. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to live.
Definitely.
In beautiful Bangkok. All right. Well, then let's get started. It's time to share your worst investment ever. And since no one goes into their worst investment thinking it will be, tell us a bit about the circumstances leading up to it, and then tell us your story.
Sure. Well, in early 2014, one of my friends introduced me with the social trading and this multi-asset brokerage company. You know, they do the trading online. It's a big funny story, I would say. I was quite curious at that point for social trading, online platform, and how can do some Forex and the commodity trading. And you know, when you see people are doing this kind of trading, making some money, you get interested. So I never traded any financial market before. Online social trading platform was my first experience. Well, my initial intention was to invest on the commodity trading, do some small scale of investment. And if things goes well, I will put more money and keep going on. So initially the trading was I got some training from the company, online trading. They give me some hands-on training, keep calling me every week, giving some new tips and tricks. It was good. Initially, I feel good. Oh, it's learning something new and they're helping me a lot. As you know, the online trading platform, especially this kind of social trading platform where it looks fascinating. People are doing business, same something like Facebook, right? Everyone is making money, sharing what they're doing, and you're following them. And same time, you're losing one thing, that is you are not thinking and looking at the technical things that much. It's going more emotional. People are making monies and they're like, okay, share that is 300% gain by one day. And that's how it started for me. I start copying the traders, because in social trading platform, you can copy the traders and their actions, and you can copy paste that thing. So eventually I start copying few of them in the early 2015. And that time I get introduced with few of short-term traders with high risk. And they are doing really cool at that point. But as you know, the investor's worst enemy is not the stock market, but the emotions. And that's what happened with me, in fact, because I choose to put all my investment in one basket, but copying only one short-term trader. I'm not mentioning any about him or anything, but what happened is it was skyrocketing. every week is like few hundreds of increment. So we start copying, many of us. So same goes for me, and eventually like I invest all investment. And one night when I wake up early morning, it's gone. And I would say that's the most shocking experience in my life, especially investment. It's just a shocking story, you know. I never expected that things can happen like that, and I never think that one person can change rapidly, because it's all about your putting your money on someone else's hand, and also that person is also probably get emotional, you know, high investment, high risks. So from few 100% of profit, suddenly it becomes zero, almost near to zero. So that was my quite shocking experience, I would say.
When you say it went to zero because the trade collapsed or because the money disappeared?
Well, what happened, you know, we are dependent on that kind of social traders. So we are copying them and we are following them, right? So it's like you're relying on someone else for all of your investment. So if his investment goes wrong suddenly, and it happens because short-term traders, they do a lot of high-risk investment. Probably they put too much risky things that even I didn't look at it at that point. I just missed for one night and things happen immediately, huge crash. That was like really shocking. And that time I realized that stock picking is not a hobby, you know, it's a technical thing. So that was like my worst experience, I would say. And it's not me only. At that time, a few of my friends, they're also investing. And the people follow a lot in social trading others, rather than going for the technical facts, what's going on around the world, or even doing some technical analysis. So people don't do that much. They follow the others. And that was what happened with me, because I was quite new and I really didn't think of that part, only looking at incomes and profits.
What lessons did you learn from this? How would you summarize the lessons that you learned?
For me, I feel like, okay, it's a human nature to be emotional. Yeah, it's a human nature to be, but if it reduces your investment return, it cannot be emotionally investment. That's the first thing I learned. It cannot be emotional. And secondly, you have to learn from the masters. Now, what happened is like, okay, the companies, they call me a lot, give me lots of tips and tricks. I learned a lot, but one thing was missing always, because I only see the good side, bright side, how things can happen, but never think of how things can break apart, right? So that's the thing, you need to learn from the master, not from the YouTube, but from the investment expert who can give you the risks, what the risks you are associated, how to learn these things, how to work with these things. So I think that's what the lesson I got, that, okay, you cannot be emotional. You need to go to the masters, learn something from the technical expert, then you can make decisions more logical, more practical.
All right. Well, let me summarize what I take away from your story. There's a few things. The first thing I always tell people is don't invest with people who call you.
Exactly.
And what I mean by that is that everybody's trying to sell something ultimately. So you've got to be very aware of that. The second thing I think that's critical here is that people can be very deceptive by talking only about their winners.
Exactly.
And I believe that there are plenty of people on the internet that are intentionally deceptive. But I also believe, and I've seen it in my own life, that there are many people that are unintentionally deceptive. In other words, they can't see their losers as they can see their winners.
True. That's true. That's
and
what
so
happened.
they don't talk about it. And then that brings me to the third part. And if we look at all the different interviews and stories that I've been through, I can tell you the number one issue is that people don't do their research.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, I think is a great thing to think of, is that every single trading strategy you ever do in your whole life is yours. You may be following somebody, but ultimately it is yours and your responsibility to put in the risk management systems and all of those things. And that's, I think, what you said about, really learning. You can't just follow, because the problem about following is everybody will invite you in. Very rarely will they tell you when to exit.
In fact, this is too many companies online, and they're too decided that, okay, this will happen, that will happen. Sometimes you get confused even. In fact, if you're not that technical, you're just like trading for some times, and especially for beginner like me, it happens. And there are many people who are the beginner outside. They try to invest and they think, okay, maybe it will bring huge income, but you have to be more practical. Do your homework before you go for it.
Yeah, and I would wrap this up by saying, from my perspective, I would generally tell people to stay away from online trading platforms, particularly related to commodities and currencies.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because in currencies, first of all, it's the most massive liquid market in the world. And that means that the players that are in it are the biggest in the world.
Right.
And that's who you're trading against. In addition, you're trading against central banks that are really run by governments and politicians, and you never really know what direction they're going to go. So if you don't understand the risk management stuff, you could get wiped out very easily. So I would say be very cautious about those. And then, of course, there's plenty of those that are just a plain scam. Great.
In fact, there's too many, I would say. There are too many scams going on.
It's huge number of scams.
Huge number of scams.
All right. So based on what you've learned from this story and what you continue to learn in your life, what one action would you recommend our listeners take to avoid suffering the same fate? And like we talked about before we went on the air, the point is there's somebody listening on this podcast who's about to give their credit card or sign up for a similar type of thing. What one piece of advice would you give them?
Well, for me, if I have one advice, it would be go and find a master's, a certified technical expert who can teach you first, learn first, before you go for action, learn the things and then go for action. That's fine. People lose money, but when you learn things and then you lose and earn, it makes sense.
Great.
Just don't go for an emotional investment and follow others without knowing the things, what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think the part that I would add to that is just never forget the importance of risk management.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well,
there we go. Well, listeners, there you have it. Another story of loss to keep you winning. To find more stories like this, previous episodes, and resources to help you reduce your risk, visit myworstinvestmentever.com. As we wrap up, Zia, thank you again for coming on the show. I know it's painful talking about our losers, but our listeners are learning to win as a result. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
Oh, thank you for inviting me today, and for all audience, learn the things and do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, that's a wrap on another great story to help us create, grow, and most importantly, protect our wealth. Fellow risk takers, I'll see you on the upside.